Hello there. And indulge me for a moment as I do a quick intro before we start. This will be a little bit different to my normal videos. Usually I do live commentary, analysis, that kind of thing. I have already watched this episode. I've already watched episode 2 as well. I had no intention of making any content about Ahsoka. I love Star Wars. I was going to keep it to myself and watch it in my own time. I did that. I loved it so much. It made me want to make some content about it. So that is what today is going to be. I'm going to be watching the episode again from the start and going all the way through. That is still obviously happening, but I have seen it. I have got thoughts in my head and I will just be commenting as I go. So yeah, without further ado, thank you for joining me and let's get on with it. I love this opening crawl, by the way. It feels very Star Wars and yet new at the same time. I will be honest with you, I do have a little bit of an issue with it all being to the left. I don't know why, it bothers me a little bit. Also, gotta say, by the way, love Thrawn, and I love that there seems to be this element of Heir to the Empire. I think, by the way, the story really does succeed on this opening as well so much because the story's simple, right? You got Ahsoka, she's got a map, you know, the bad guys are coming for Ahsoka because she's got the map. Do you know what I mean? It's very simple. I think a simple premise like that really helps it to get people in and get going.
A ship has entered this sector.
Very Star Trek. Like just the setup of this bridge. Is it blasphemy to say that I quite like that?
They're Jedi.
Oh, you wish.
I'm calling their bluff. Signal them to come aboard.
By the way, what a silly way to call a bluff. He did not think this through at all. You know what I mean? I'd be sat on the bridge being like, okay, hey guys, over the comm. I'd be like, use a mind trick on me. Prove it. Do you know what I mean? Don't invite them on the ship. Sir. I love this opening, man. Very reminiscent of Vader Emperor, isn't it?
It's quite a surprise meeting Jedi out here.
This Joker, this absolute Joker.
You're no Jedi.
I do get it though, by the way, sorry, as much as I'm joking about it, it does make sense, right? We do know that the Jedi are all but extinct. And as much as most of them, even if, you know, 1% of them survived, there were thousands of Jedi. And sorry, I know this is a debate online, but I do agree. I think it absolutely makes sense that there are 100 or something Jedi out there, scattered. Oh, right. Do you know what I mean? So it makes sense. It makes sense from this guy's perspective. I mean, he's an old guy. He's lived a lot of his life knowing the Jedi aren't there. It makes sense. It does make sense.
And you, sir, should have surrendered when the Empire collapsed.
This also reminds me a little bit, and by the way, I will be talking about the prequels maybe a little bit of a lot actually, because I do think this show, at least in the first 2 episodes, pays a lot of homage to the prequels. And this reminds me of the opening of Phantom Menace when Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan come in, the Trade Federation vessel, and it's like this, they come on with the hoods up, you know, very mysterious Jedi coming in. It felt like that for me when I first watched it, and I loved it for that.
Allow me to show you our identification.
Badass line, I gotta say. Also, what a strong opening. Coming straight in, the new Star Wars show. The music also. That little beat. That, as he like grabs him with the Force, turns him around, this music here. Perfectly complements that moment. I love that. But yeah, what a strong start, isn't it? Like, you know, these 2 Jedi come on board, lightsabers immediately. I know it's a very simple thing to say, but people coming into a new Star Wars show, lightsabers immediately, insta-win. Do you know what I mean?
We are no Jedi.
Also, great establishment of their 2 characters and where they're at morally. I'm very interested by her character, by the way. Almost reminds me of Ahsoka, you know? When we're first introduced to Ahsoka in the Clone Wars, this young Force user, competent with a lightsaber, competent with the Force. I don't know, lots of potential for that character to grow from here, whatever happens in this series. Lightsaber corridor scene, just gotta say. But the way he moves, and I know it makes sense because he was a Jedi, but like, look, the way that he's holding it with 2 hands to the side like that, very Jedi. Just his movements and the way that he uses his lightsaber. I love that there was time and effort given into how he, as a character, would move with his lightsaber, considering his past. Attention to detail. Here we go. There she is. By the way, a little note, her like vambrace, her glove, very Clone War armor, like Clone Trooper armor. Always cool when she does that, I'm so sorry. I'm not sorry at all. You know, I couldn't place the drawings. I thought they were the Wills at first. They absolutely are, of course, Night Sisters. Like, sorry, jumping ahead a little bit, but yeah, I love the inclusion of like a live action Night Sister. Something I will talk about as we go through this episode, by the way, is how methodical, how patient the show is, how slow it is, right? There's not much dialogue. It's just Ahsoka in here lingering on her face, her expressions, letting Rosario Dawson do her thing because she has the mannerisms of Ahsoka down so well. Everything she does is so meticulously done. Like, she embodies that character so well. You know, the little smile there, small as it is, it's very Ahsoka. Yeah, it's so interesting. We go from that first scene before, you know, the Ahsoka title card comes up, and it's very fast paced, there's dialogue, kind of the typical fare for, you know, a show. And then it comes into this, we get, you know, the titular character coming in, walking through, no dialogue at all, very slow. We get down here, you know, she uses her lightsabers, goes down, and then she's in here and it slows down. And I think this is really good for setting up the audience as to the type of show it is, because I think this is what actually sets this show apart. I say sets apart because I think The Mandalorian season 1 and 2 did this too. I think that's why that show was so successful in the way that it was as well, in that it's patient storytelling, very methodical, meticulous. I think the music, the sound design, the way it's shot, the way it lingers on like Rosario Dawson as it's doing it, shoots to, you know, the walls and these beautiful sets that they've made. That's something else I'll talk about. This scene here sets you up to go into the episode, the series, as to what to expect, because I think this is a very much something that the show falls back on in the way that they tell their story, and I think to me is very much a strength of the show. Yeah, you know, something that, again, they do so well is that sometimes I don't know what is practical effects and what is CGI. And I think that's a perfect line to walk on. That's where you should be. This seems brilliant for the establishment of her character if you're unfamiliar with Ahsoka. You know, she's cool in a fight, she's confident, she's clearly competent as well. You get all of that from this. And then as it goes on and the way that she goes about it and the cleverness she shows, right, upon being outnumbered and dealing with that, shows you a lot, again, in an establishing scene of the show about her. So cool. And again, showing us a lightsaber fight, keeping that nice pacing, nice balance between these, like I say, these slow, patient, meticulous scenes, and giving us, you know, these combat and these fast-paced set pieces that I think really balance out the pacing. It allows the show to be patient when it wants to be, and it's why those moments work so well, because it's balanced and offset with these kinds of scenes here.
Good thing I arrived when I did.
By the way, apparently David Tennant's reprising this role. I had no idea David Tennant voiced a droid.
Next time, stay close.
Yeah, just the way that Rosario crosses her arms. She does that quite a lot, but that's very Ahsoka. She's clearly studied Ahsoka, her mannerisms, and she's taken that into the role.
That is the job of a Jedi Padawan learner, which I am not.
Foreshadow.
The map.
Right where Morgan said it would be.
How did you get her to tell the truth?
Yeah, I'm very curious as to how as well.
Let's just say I didn't follow standard Jedi protocol.
Gay. I'm just saying. Seduction scene flashback. Here she is. There we go. By the way, I have watched Rebels. I love Rebels. So this feels like very much like coming home. The sense that I got as I watched this was like it does feel very much like a love letter to those that liked Rebels, right? It very much settles into that world, I feel.
If Thrawn survived, does that mean Ezra?
We gotta be seeing Ezra, right? Like more in this series, I feel like.
Okay, let's take a look at this map.
Something I will say, and I don't mean this to come across overly harsh, Rosario, obviously amazing as Ahsoka. We're gonna see Natasha Bordizzo as Sabine. I think she nails that role, and I'll go into that later. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, playing Hera. She's a good actor. She's not like, this isn't a comment on her acting at all. I don't think she's quite nailed the mannerisms and the voice of Hera, if I'm completely honest. But let me know in the comments, does she work for you? I don't know. It might just be me, and maybe because I obviously have watched Rebels and, you know, I have these characters in my head as one thing. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it. Let me know what you think. By the way, they nailed Lothal. It looks beautiful.
Thanks to the heroic efforts of Commander Ezra Bridger.
By the way, this is the same guy, isn't it, who plays this character in Rebels. I love it, because they made the character in Rebels look like him. They can get away with that. And it's always great, you know, to bring the voice actor in. I think it is. I think maybe I'm making this up and have him play him in live action.
Commander Sabine Wren.
I love the mural as well. Like, you know, it looks very much like the animated series, and it's just lovely to see that connection in the live action. I think that's such a lovely touch.
Copy.
Something I will draw attention to. Note how fast they're going on this highway. It's going to be important.
Well, you're missing the ceremony.
Oh, that was today.
All right, look, Commander, I have my orders. I'm gonna need you to pull over.
Well, here's a new order. Get lost.
Yeah, everything Natasha does, even when she's not talking, it's so characterful. She does so much.
Sabine!
This is undeniably cool. And again, it shows you a lot about Sabine as a character. I know, like me coming in, I know who she is because I've seen Rebels. Some people won't have, a lot of people wouldn't have. And I think showing this. Okay, look at this, look at the window, look at the window. Note how I said before how fast they're going on this highway. And then if you look, they just didn't do this in post, I guess, but the way outside the window, it looks like he's barely moving. I'm sorry, it just bugged me. It bugged me when I saw it. Look how slow it is. Anyway, sorry, I'm over it. But yeah, this is so, again, characterful. Just the way she's introduced and the way that she ditches the ceremony, the way that they try and come and stop her and she's like, nah, I'm okay. And then she shows her competency and her railing against the rules and what she should do. And, you know, it tells you a lot about Sabine. And if it's your first introduction to her character, you get a lot from that scene. Also, one of the biggest strengths of this show, putting the Loth cats in. My goodness, at this point in the show, I turned to my cat was like down here on the floor and I was like, dude, representation. Amazing. So cute. It's so cute. Yeah, this is something I would draw attention to. Just this shouldn't be as revolutionary as it is, but you can tell that this room here has been given so much time, so much care, right? It's so full of things. It feels so lived in. And you know what I mean? Again, the word that I keep using, I'm sorry, but it's so characterful. They went through this room with a fine-tooth comb and like in every corner, on every shelf and everything, like there's so much stuff. And I think that's so important. And I think, again, is demonstrative of this entire show so far that I've seen. The set design is phenomenal. And again, the little nod to her helmet there. Again, a little foreshadow, a reminder of, I guess, what she left behind as well. You know, look at this place. It's so full. So carefully curated.
Hey, Sabine.
There's our boy.
Sorry for disappearing on you.
This guy nails Ezra. His voice, his intonation. This in a second. He does a thing, he scratches his head and it's so Ezra.
We're not really family.
This. That's so Ezra. Sorry, I know it's so small, but it is.
May the Force be with you.
Yeah, he nails that. And I do wonder, they've gone to the effort to cast the guy. He's put in the effort. I know it's one scene, it's one isolated small scene. And if it was just this scene that he shot, a small bite, you know? He does very well with what he's been given and what he's had to do. I find it hard to believe that he's not got a bigger role. I love the Padawan braid that she's got as well. Again, it kind of like muddies the waters in a way, not in a bad way, but of the allegiances and where these people come faction-wise, right? And I think that's the thing as well, like you can't really put these people into factions anymore. I'm talking about like Ahsoka, Baylan, and I can't remember her name. It's easy almost to kind of divide them into Jedi and Sith, right? But, you know, but they're very specific orders, and I don't think Ahsoka's not really a Jedi. I mean, she's not a Jedi. Baylan and this girl here, I don't think they're Sith. We don't really know, that's true. I would go so far as to say that they're not Sith. And I think they are just, at this point, Force users aligned with certain people, and that's as deep as it goes. And I think the Padawan braid that she's got there really symbolizes that, because I think we do keep getting that thing from Baylan of, he's not a mustache twirling villain. He's not a mustache twirling Sith. He's not an inherently bad guy. He's an antagonist, and he's a bad guy in the sense that he's arrayed against Ahsoka. But I think he's bringing in elements of his Jedi training into, for example, training his apprentice. I like that, and I think it symbolizes this grey area that we're in with Force users in this time.
An ancient temple built by my ancestors, the Night Sisters of Dathomir.
I love that. I love that for her. And yeah, she looks so good in the red as well. This outfit, it's so great. I love it. I love that we have a Night Sister at the forefront and the focus here.
Neither the Jedi has the map.
Yeah, Baylan has like very almost Clone Wars armor as well.
Master?
Do as she says.
Yeah, I love that. I love that line of like, there is a little bit of a crack. This alliance that they have, Baylan and the Night Sister, it's not one made through companionship. These guys clearly have their own agenda going on. The fact that she asked him and she wasn't sure, she was like, Master, are we going to go along with this? Where are we at? And he's like, yeah, do it. Go ahead. It does. It speaks to a little bit of individuality from these guys. They've got their own agenda while, you know, the Night Sister has hers. Interesting little kind of, again, foreshadowing of like, where is that alliance gonna go? Where are these guys' allegiances truly?
Ahsoka Tano's former apprentice is on the Thal. You're looking for Sabine Wren.
Interesting how in the know he is. For someone who, at least to our minds, right, hasn't really been active. I'm sure he has been doing his own thing, but yeah, interesting. Oh, I just noticed Ezra's helmet. Do you know what I mean? So many little details. This is on the rewatch. I never caught that in the first one. I caught it this time. I also do kind of love that we've had this gap between Rebels and now, where obviously, you know, Ahsoka and Sabine had this relationship we just haven't seen. So we are uncovering and discovering all of that in this show, which I really like. It gives us a lot of, you know, character fodder to dive into.
You missed the ceremony.
Was that yesterday? It slipped my mind.
She's so good. Natasha's so good. Just the way that she delivers every line is just so full of attitude and who she is, you know. You get such a... You're kind of, as the audience, put behind her character so firmly. I love that.
And still 75% original parts.
Absolute, mate. Well done.
Well then.
You're gonna want to hear what she has to say.
I love Sabine's hair, by the way. It's so cool. Yeah, see, look at this. Look at how much time this is given. No dialogue. We're just... Do you know what I mean? You feel the awkwardness, but also the familiarity.
I think I know how to find Ezra.
That one line there. Close up on Sabine. She's doing so much with her face. Great acting from Natasha there. We've got the music playing in the background. Do you know what I mean? It's coming together so cohesively, so well. And that moment there was just given so much time and it was allowed to breathe. I love that. And it's such a hallmark so far of this show. And I think is what part of the reason why I honestly loved it so much. Because it's not rushing. It is letting you sink into the world. And I think that honestly offers a lot of world building in itself. Because it gives you as the audience time to sink into it. Rather than going from scene to scene to scene to scene, rushing, never spending time in a place. And then it's like, well, I don't really feel connected to it, you know. But I do think breathing, letting it breathe and taking your time and being patient with this stuff, it does world building in itself. Look, even just the little touches of her going and the set design of seeing her little doodles on, you know, I would assume her bunk when she was staying here. It's so nice. And just the moment as she was allowed to come in and have that, right? And we as the audience get to see that, and it builds your relationship to Sabine as well, because you feel that with her, you're in that with her. It's a clever technique to enamor the audience towards her. And it's small and subtle, and it takes a little bit of time, but not a lot, and it does so much.
Witches. Great. More exciting by the minute.
Yeah, just the way that the table and chairs in this central bit came up from the floor. Maybe I'm wrong, but that looks practical, and that takes effort and care when they put the effort in. It's great. I know it's almost sad that I'm drawing attention to this stuff because, you know, this should just be common course with making a TV show or a film, but it's not always anymore. You know what I mean? Again, we're lingering. Slow down again. Taking our time, you know, going over Sabine's face and what, everything, look, everything Natasha's doing with her face is just, everything.
Where do you call home these days?
The ship serves me fine.
Still? Don't you ever get tired of moving from one place to another?
Again, subtly, where, you know, drawing attention and coming down on Ahsoka's character a little bit. By the way, I am just going to draw attention to, I do feel like, and the sense that I got when I was watching this episode was obviously Ahsoka, you know, the protagonist, name of the show, it's all about her. I do also feel like Sabine feels almost more of a main protagonist than Ahsoka. Maybe some people don't like that, but I personally really do like that. I think it's nice. It's ushering her into the story and into Ahsoka's narrative really nicely. And I do feel like as much as Ahsoka is the focus and kind of is teed as the focus, because obviously name of the show, right? The show is Ahsoka. I think this first episode does a lot to actually introduce Sabine more so into the forefront in a really nice way. And I think really just ties them as we come to see as, you know, Master and Apprentice again eventually. It ties them together in a really nice way to go forward with. You come in and watch it and it's like, well, Sabine's kind of a focus, honestly, and kind of almost sharing equal screen time as a protagonist as Ahsoka, and I think that makes sense. But I just found that interesting and like a pleasant surprise almost. I wouldn't have expected that, and I wouldn't have expected to like that, and then it gets into it and it tells it, and it's like, you know, Natasha does so well with Sabine that it's like, boom, I love this. This is great. And Sabine coming in the way that she just did with the line she just did, is this home for you? Are you okay with this? And it's, you know, laying those seeds for perhaps by the end of the series, Ahsoka to come down and be like, maybe this isn't okay. Maybe I should find somewhere to call home. I haven't had that. I mean, Ahsoka's not had that for a long time. And yeah, it's interesting they're starting that seed now. And I wonder if we do see that pay off a little bit later down the line.
You never make things easy.
Why should I? You never made things easy for me.
Yeah, immediately establishes the tension between them.
There is nothing easy about being a Jedi.
Then I should have made a good one.
You should have.
Also the parallel between, obviously, you know, we've got Anakin and Ahsoka and that whole relationship that, you know, Ahsoka is, I'm sure, dealing with, and then we're actually getting this, you know, this parallel between Ahsoka now becoming the master and having an apprentice, and I love that symmetry. You know, Ahsoka being thrust into that role, which feels very natural. She's older, she's, you know, very proficient, she's very experienced at this point. She should be and could be a master at this point, and is, and I think that makes absolute sense for where she is as a character, and I want to see that version of Ahsoka. I want to see how she deals with that. This show in this episode, all of the characters in it, it feels natural where their characters have gotten. They feel, if you've watched Rebels, it does feel like they're older versions of those characters as opposed to just the same character translated into live action. It does feel like their characters come on a little bit. They feel older. They feel like these roles that they are kind of fitting into in this show feel right.
Can I take this?
I'm not sure that's a good idea.
No trust.
The map stays here.
Yeah, these guys back and forth, they've got such good chemistry as well. It's so compelling to watch them on screen together, which I think is a great start considering the story that they're going to tell with these two and the foundation they set.
As you requested, I have run an analysis on the lightsabers,
I love this part, by the way.
with several classic design motifs.
It's all very fascinating, Hu Yang.
A small note. I love the customization of lightsabers. I just do, right? And I'm sure there are many people like me who can see someone's lightsaber and you can be like, that's X's lightsaber, that's Yoda's lightsaber, that's Vader's lightsaber, that's Anakin's lightsaber, because they're different, right? It's so cool and personal. I think sometimes you do get the sense in some shows or films, Star Wars related, that, you know, something is product placement or whatever, blah, blah, blah. That occurred to me at this point. But I think it's so well integrated into the show. It makes sense that we're seeing these lightsabers. It's melded into the story so well. It's part of the story. It's story driven. It's a story driven decision to put this in. It does. It turns it back into just a cool thing of, yeah, these lightsabers are very personal. You can tell a lot from them. That's the inherent part of this scene, is that that's the point. My brain went to the thing of like, oh yeah, they're kind of doing product placement here, and sure, but it didn't feel like that when I was watching it. And I think I love that. And that's the perfect balance, I think, to strike.
But this one, I've only known one student who built a saber such as this.
So cool.
Baylan Skoll. He disappeared at the end of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, even that tells you a lot. The fact that he got through the Clone Wars and through Order 66. I mean, we don't know how it happened, but it takes a lot to do that.
Formidable adversaries for you alone. You may not be alone for much longer.
I love him. I love him so much. I think Hu Yang is like the perfect offset to her. And he is this link to the past, the Jedi. Of course she took it. Ahsoka, honestly, man, what did you expect? This is possibly, and I know there's a lot, right? And this seems like really small to draw attention to, but this is possibly this here. Possibly one of my favorite moments in these two episodes. And again, draws back to the prequels and Darth Maul, right, in The Phantom Menace, right? I grew up and my introduction to Star Wars was the prequels. So as much as I've watched them as an adult and like, they're not amazing films, I love them so much and I will always defend their corner. I will always fight for them. And this is so nostalgic to me. Just the sound of the probe droid, you know, this silent dark side antagonist Jedi Sith figure in the grass with the ship behind them, the probe droid there, her looking into the distance. It's such a visual and audio spectacle, drawing you back to that Darth Maul Phantom Menace moment, and I love it for that so much, you know. And she is the apprentice, right, in the same way that Maul was too. There.
She's still just as stubborn and bullish as ever.
She's Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You knew what you were getting into.
I love it because it's classic master and apprentice. If you've ever read I think it's the canon book, I can't remember what it's called, the one that focuses on Qui-Gon, and it goes back to when he first got Obi-Wan as an apprentice and they struggled, right? And you see in The Phantom Menace how they both work together and it works and it's all smooth sailing. It didn't used to be that, you know, they had their troubles too. And I think this is very indicative of how it is kind of often sometimes for master and apprentice, and working out those kinks, and Ahsoka almost being like, I just wish she was easier almost. And it's like, dude, that's not how it's necessarily always going to be. You can't expect that. She's not just going to change. She is who she is, and it's your job as a master to train her. Do you know what I mean? And that's something that Ahsoka's got to come into, and I'm looking forward to that. I love that.
Mentoring someone is a challenge.
Yeah.
I bet your master found you difficult at times.
God. goddamn yeah, but we loved it.
Anakin never got to finish my training.
God, this speaks volumes. Can I just say, quick note, I love that she just said his name, first of all. Second of all, that does very much say that she very much, like most people in this universe, separates Anakin and Vader. I'm not rendering my own judgment of that. I understand why people do separate them. And I think that, you know, the brilliance of Luke almost in episode 6 is that he can see the one man with the two sides, right? He sees them as one person. I think that's what makes Luke able to turn him, as well as, you know, loads of other reasons and, you know, whatever. But moving on. But I love that she can actually say Anakin's name, right? As painful as that must be for her, she's come through it and she has, I think, found some peace in herself. I think it's still difficult, obviously, for her, but it's interesting that she can say his name, right? And it's tragic and painful for me as the audience because obviously it's just harkening back to the Clone Wars and how brilliant that was and how brilliant they were together and that relationship and how it just did so tragically fall apart.
Sometimes even the right reasons have the wrong consequences.
Interesting, that line as well. The right reasons have the wrong consequences. I don't think she's necessarily even talking about this, but like it's interesting that to my mind, to my brain, my ear heard that and thought of Anakin again. He had the right reasons. He wanted to save Padme, and that had the wrong consequences in the end. We all saw, you know, and it's such a powerful line. I love that line. It could mean so many things. Okay, this scene. Yeah, I love this scene for how tactile it is, how slow, meticulous. The sound design is mwah. You know, she's working this through her head, and you can see that in the way that she's, one, looking at it right here, and two, when she comes to the desk in a second and starts touching everything, she has this little pad that she draws on. I love it. It's such attention to detail that I think strengthens this kind of storytelling. You know, how she slowly gets to the point where she does work it out. This here, look. She draws on it, this changes. The sound design is so cool. You hear her drawing, tapping it, then she picks this up. She does this thing in a minute where she like twists it and it slightly sticks, and you know that Natasha did that on the day, and then they add the sound design in obviously afterwards, and it just works so well, and it again draws you into the world because everything feels real because the sound design is so on point, and they do put the effort in to do all this stuff and take their time with this scene. There. Yeah, she struggles slightly. Sorry, again, small details, but I think it means a lot and it conveys a lot to the audience when that stuff is going on. Yeah, the way she let go, it just sticks there, and then this effect, like everything is just so meticulously, carefully done, and it's so nice. Whoop. And again, I love how this shows that she is competent. She is the apprentice, but she has moves, man. And it shows that against these very competent droids, she has no armor, no weapons, and she holds her own, and she survives. It tells you a lot, right? I think, again, if you're being introduced to this character for the first time, it's like, oh, okay, maybe she's a Mandalorian. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you believe that because you're being shown it.
We have a problem.
Here we go. Nice. And I think this is so good. First episode, and we get a lightsaber on lightsaber fight. You know that's what people want. For me, I'm like, if this wasn't in it, I'd have still enjoyed it. But when I saw this, I was like, dude, people are gonna love this. It's such a smart move. A lot of Star Wars fans will come to a Star Wars show and they will want this. And immediately it gives it to them. And I think it's really nice that it's like apprentice versus apprentice. So it's like, you can tell in the way that this is choreographed that they are both apprentices. It's a scrappy fight. You know, Sabine's clearly struggling as well. And this other girl is clearly the better fighter. So it's nice. It gives you like a taste, a little bite of what this show is going to give you. It's like, here's a lightsaber fight to just whet your appetite. And we will get later down the line to the lightsaber fights that are really gonna knock your socks off, right? I'm thinking Bail and Ahsoka. Yeah, that's great. I love how she's using her cape to fight as well. I love that. I love that shot. Yeah, and her little flip as she comes back up. Like, again, it's nice how it's been choreographed. It also shows you that Sabine is a fighter, even if she's not used to the lightsaber fighting. And it also sets you on the path of like, okay, she's got work to do. She is an apprentice. She can train and get better. Yeah, again, the cape. Love that. That was so ballsy, can I just say? And it makes absolute sense as well. Sabine was getting beaten. She was the worst fighter. This girl was beating her. And I love that we got like a resolution to it, was that like Sabine lost because she did lose. And it's like, you don't expect her to get stabbed. I remember watching it with Sonara, and Sonara was like literally like, you know, and I was like, whoa, you know. It's like, good consequences to fights. This is dangerous, right? They are dangerous people. They are fighting for their lives. When you go lightsaber to lightsaber, that's what it is. And I love that we saw that consequence to it and that it is dangerous. And I love that touch. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not a secret. I genuinely love this show. I love a lot about it. I think it did everything right, honestly. I was so nervous coming into this show. I think, you know, I didn't personally like season 3 of The Mandalorian. I didn't like Boba Fett either. I think those shows did what they were trying to do really poorly. Really loved Andor. Honestly, I didn't like Obi-Wan. There were bits of Obi-Wan that I really liked, and, you know, I don't know, maybe I should do a video on that at some point and go through why that is and how I did like it, and I think it could have been better. Anyway, digressing, but my point is, I came into this show being like, I want it to be good. Ahsoka, to me, I grew up with Clone Wars, and I grew up with Ahsoka, and she as a character over, I think it's the last 15 years, has been a character in the Star Wars, like one of my favorite characters. So I was coming into this so nervous, and I am so happy that it's everything that I wanted. I don't know. I've heard overwhelmingly positive things of people watching this show. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with me. If you don't agree with me, that's also okay. Obviously, this is all opinion. Put it down in the comments. Let me know what you thought. Anything I didn't mention, let me know as well. By the way, I don't know if I'm gonna do this for every episode of this. This might just be a standalone video. I have a very busy schedule, and usually the way that I shoot videos, it takes a very long time to make them. So this is in an attempt, having watched this and then come in, watched it again, knowing my thoughts, knowing what I kind of want to talk about, is in an effort to make this video a little bit quicker to put out, a little bit easier to film and edit and put all together. So it's a little bit different. It's a little bit new for my style of doing things. So if you did like this and want to see more and want me to cover the series, give it a like and all that good stuff. Subscribe as well. Thank you as always to my beautiful patrons. Links down below to that if you're interested. Early access for all my YouTube content over there. So yeah, with that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and hey, maybe I'll see you soon. Bye.